We have serious news to discuss off the top. Of course, the major story in wrestling today concerns Jeff Hardy, and he was arrested over the past 24 hours, and this was in Volusia County in Florida, and he is facing 3 charges, the most significant being driving under the influence. And we were in contact with the both representative at the Volusia County Police Department and the Florida Highway Patrol, and we were able to get the actual police report. So I'm just going to rely on it to pass along the details. This was the report that was filled out by the reporting officer, Zach Steiner, and this report was filed earlier today. And from his notes on June 13th, 2022, and the time frame of this incident was around 12:30 a.m. late Sunday, early Monday, just to put it into context. I responded to the report of a white in-color Dodge Charger that was swerving all over the roadway, failing to maintain their lane, and running off the roadway in the area of Interstate 4. Prior to catching up to the vehicle, 4 callers called 911 to report the vehicle and its poor driving pattern. I caught up to the vehicle as it was merging from Interstate 4 onto northbound Interstate 95. I observed the vehicle to be traveling significantly under the speed limit, weaving across travel lanes and running off the shoulder of the roadway. Due to the poor driving pattern, I attempted to perform a traffic stop on the vehicle that he names here. The driver did not immediately pull over and failed to pull over in a safe manner. The vehicle eventually pulled over onto the northbound outside shoulder of Interstate 95. I made a passenger side approach to the vehicle and observed a single occupant in the driver's seat reaching into a black backpack on the passenger seat. I issued loud verbal commands for the driver to take his hands out of the bag, to which he did not respond. I proceeded to slap the passenger window to gain his attention, which was also unsuccessful. The driver appeared to be in a stupor and confused. I maneuvered to the driver's side and then issued verbal commands to place his hands on the steering wheel. The driver was compliant with this request. The driver attempted to place the vehicle in park at my request, but was unable to get the vehicle in park before letting go of the brake, which resulted in the vehicle rolling forward. The driver quickly applied the brakes and placed the vehicle in park. I told the driver to unlock the door, which he attempted to do, but was also unsuccessful. I had to open the locked door prior to ordering the driver outside of the vehicle. The driver exited his vehicle without any issues. The driver appeared to be unsteady on his feet, displayed orbital sway, reeked of the odor of an alcoholic beverage, and was confused. Through conversations with the driver, it was learned that he had been drinking earlier in the day. A driver's license query identified the driver as Jeffrey Nero Hardy, date of birth August 31st, 1977, and lists here that it was learned that the driver was suspended out of North Carolina and was convicted on 2 separate DUIs, listing dates here in 2018 and 2019. It was also learned that Jeff Hardy had a driving restriction, which required him to have an interlock device in his vehicle, which the rental vehicle did not have. After speaking with Jeff Hardy and observing multiple indicators of DUI impairment, I requested that he perform a field sobriety exercise, or several exercises, to which he consented. With the help of another trooper he lists here, I relocated Jeff Hardy to a flat, dry-level surface where field sobriety exercises were to be administered. Jeff Hardy's performance on the exercises provided more than enough clues necessary to effect an arrest for the offense of DUI. Jeff Hardy displayed severe nystagmus. I'm not familiar with this word. Was unsteady on his feet.
It means like eyes like swaying, basically.
Okay.
Yeah.
Was unsteady on his feet and could not complete any portion of the exercises successfully or without risk of falling. And then I'll just skip towards the end. Based on the aforementioned information, I have reason to believe and do believe the defendant, Jeffrey Hardy, violated Florida state statute. And the defendant willingly provided 2 breath samples. The first with a sample reading of 0.294 and the second with a sample reading of 0.291. The legal limit in Florida is 0.08. So we are talking about over 3.5 times the legal limit in the state of Florida. He was booked later in the day on Monday, and he was, as of this evening, they had listed a release date or a release time at around 7:45 p.m. on Monday night. And Mark Ramundi at ESPN reporting that he is scheduled to appear in court on Tuesday at around 1:30 p.m. local time. This is an unfortunate story that has followed Jeff Hardy. This is someone that I think we can just clearly see that this is a man that has an extreme struggle with addiction. And this is going back nearly 20 years. When you remember the first time he was let go by the WWE in 2003, it was his refusal to go to rehab at the time, and they let him go. And this was when he was still a very prominent star. And that's going back 19 years. There have been many, many unfortunate stories in those years ensuing. And this comes at a time where, I mean, I don't know what your answer is, other than this is somebody that I think desperately needs help. And this is a really, really concerning pattern that I can't help but link to all that we have been talking about with Tammy Sitch recently. And thankfully, there was not anyone injured in this, but that so easily could have happened. And I just think these stories, like, you need to really, and listen, I'm not preaching here, but you
should preach. We should be preaching here. This is really bad.
Like, I look at this and I imagine this Jeff Hardy is someone, he has children, and it's like, could you get it through your mind if you hurt a child, if you hurt anybody, like, and you got through this without that happening, like, you will live with that with the rest of your life. If there is a fatality, and what you will live with, you will be giving yourself a life sentence if you get behind the wheel of a car and somebody does not survive your decision. It's so concerning. I do not care about pro wrestling right now with this individual, and I think it's the least important of the factors. But I think at this point, when you hear Jeff talk about when he left WWE, and he's good, and you take him at his word, like, addiction is something, like, you struggle with that your entire life. Believe me, I'm sympathetic to that. But this is a line that you cannot cross, where you're getting behind the wheel of a car. And I'm outlining, like, in plain language, the state that he was in. It's remarkable that there's nothing worse that we're talking about right now.
It's remarkable that other people weren't hurt as a result of this. And as is always the case with something like this. So this is the third time he was caught in the last 5 years. 2018 was the first one, right? Or not the first one of his life, but in recent years. 20 DUI, March 10th of 2018, and then went in October 3rd of 2019.
Yes,
right?
He was, as I pull this up here, on July 13th, 2019, Hardy was arrested in Myrtle Beach for public intoxication. On October 3rd, 2019, Hardy was arrested and charged with driving while impaired in Moore County, North Carolina. And then this most recent one.
And one before in 2018 as well.
Right. There was one in 2018. It's not listed here in his Wikipedia, but there was the 2018 one that is listed in the police report. So listen, that's like 3 in the past 10 years, which is listed in there. And this is a felony for this DUI charge.
And is always the case with something like this. We have to consider all the times he did this but wasn't caught. And it's very likely a whole lot more than what has happened. It's incredibly sad. It's incredibly disappointing if you're a fan of professional wrestling, if you're somebody who's been following Jeff Hardy for all these years, if you were on his side arguing against the WWE for wanting to, give this guy a test or send him to rehab or something like that. And I think we should maybe point out that it's very possible that the incident that, that had occurred at that house show, he could have been very well fine for that. Everything could have been truthful while he was still having an issue, maybe in other ways. But I think this sort of arrest and having like the bare facts written out in this police report that you dug up, John, it tells you everything you need to know about his current state. You don't blow a 2.94 unless you've been
0.294, 2.94.
I'm sorry, he'd be dead.
That would be
But a nearly 0.3 is like a whole lot of drinks. It's like more than 10 drinks, like in the span of like an hour. And to get behind a wheel at that point is not something somebody does just, like on a casual night out. Like, it's not one of those. This is incredibly serious. He's putting himself at risk, and of course the lives of other people at risk.
This is at a point, like, this guy needs at minimum a driver. Like the very minimum. Like there needs to be,
yes,
like he should not be in a position where this is even possible, that he
yeah.
is able to go out to drink and has access to a car.
Yeah, so it says what he was in Florida. He had a rental that didn't have the interlocking device that he's supposed to have every time he drives.
Correct.
So all of that. I mean, all of that said, I have no appetite to watch him wrestle anymore. You know, knowing that he's going through all of these issues. If in the future, like I don't know how he's been getting around to all of these shows. Like especially when he has to travel. But like knowing this type of stuff has been going around, I just have no appetite at present to watch Jeff Hardy wrestle and perform.
Right. So yeah, he's facing like the felony, which is the DUI, and noting that it's DUI, alcohol or drugs with third offense within the last 10 years. Then there is a violation of driver's license restrictions / interlock device that you mentioned, and then driving while license suspended or revoked. So these are significant charges, the biggest being the DUI. And the advertising from for the ladder match this Wednesday has been pulled by AEW. I would say 100% we are not going to be seeing Jeff Hardy on television this week. And I would imagine that's going to be a decision for AEW of what they are doing moving forward. The fact is, we cover an industry where there is extreme latitude, the bigger a star you are. And Jeff Hardy is a big star. And I'm sure that they are. I don't know what I think a lot of this is going to be on Jeff Hardy of what is he willing to do, because doing nothing would seem to be something you couldn't fathom. But we've seen other examples where it's been offenses like this and there's been no one like rehab being mandatory or such. It's
a test for AEW, honestly, because we know WWE has a policy, but like when somebody is under AEW's watch as an employee of theirs, how are they going to respond? And I think, you know, if you're a member of the audience, you have a lot of things that I think you would like to see done before, again, we feel comfortable seeing Jeff Hardy in at least their ring again, or any ring, really.
Yeah, that's right. And it certainly brings about the question of someone that at 44 years of age, with the like litany of injuries that he has put himself through, like, is this the best place for him to be?
Are we talking about like jail time? You know, like what are we talking about that can actually happen as a result of these charges?
I mean, anything is possible. I mean, it's going to be for the court to decide.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't have enough expertise in the field of what he would be facing legally, but we probably will get a sense of it. The fact that this is not a first time offense and it's a third. I mean, there's certainly that question about, you know, not putting him in a position where this can happen another time.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I'm sure a story we'll be following very closely. I listen, like I in cases like these, I always have a level of sympathy for the person that's suffering from this, and God knows, I'm sure like the battles that Jeff Hardy internally has been able to go through with his family, with the people by his side. But it's at the point now where like he is an endangerment to other people around him. I mean, he has been, I guess, quite frankly, but this was unfortunately just a big wake-up call to all of us who have been watching and enjoying his matches. That, I mean,
it's really hard for people because this is an extremely popular and likable figure on top of it among his peers, among fans. I don't think there's anybody that is not rooting for Jeff Hardy to live a successful life. But at the same time, that also makes it become easier to somewhat just accept that everything is fine and maybe not look at someone that is still going through struggles. And you do not end up in a situation like this where everything is just going great. And there is an issue here. And it's just the level of chance that you are left with where a tragedy comes out of this. It's just like, we have just seen the example of someone in Tammy Sitch who was just time after time after time, and it resulted in a 75-year-old losing his life.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anyone wants to see that be the end result here. And someone that is left with that realization of what they have to live with, of the fact that their actions could cost someone their life. I mean, yeah, I think I've said my piece. Like, drinking and driving is something that I think is most people take very seriously, but it's also one that just seems to have a lot of chances are given over and over. And we're talking about life and death in these situations.
A few people in the chat room have been asking how he was even able to rent a car. I'm sure that's something that'll come out. You know, I don't personally know, like, the amount of checking that's involved even in somebody with a. I mean, if he's got a suspended license, yeah, it's a great question. So maybe these details will come out in the days to come.
All right. We will be following this story. And again, he is, according to Mark Raimondi, to appear in court on Tuesday.